Parallels between this and what happened to Reagan to me are front of center. Reagan was a very spiritual, religious person. And he believed in forgiveness, and he started praying for Hinckley. And it's in his diary that he did that. The assassination attempt did for Reagan, too, was that it built a bond with the American people. You know, Reagan would lose more than half, 70 years old, by the way, and he'd lose more than half his blood volume because he'd been hit. He was in shock at the hospital. He collapsed into the arms of his agents when he walked through the doors, right? They couldn't get his pulse. They couldn't get his blood pressure. Reagan was probably a minute away from dying.
While Tiny Fingers wandered around Milwaukee with a maxi pad on his ear, I realized I'm old enough now to remember more attempted and successful assassinations than I care to list, but I will. JFK, MLK, RFK, George Wallace, Gerald Ford, and here in California, George Moscone and Harvey Milk. But the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan is the one that had the greatest impact on my young life. I was living in D.C. and eating lunch across the street from where the actual shooting occurred. I saw it unfold in real time. Surreal would be an understatement. And over the next 24 hours, the nation didn't have two political parties. We just had the president in the hospital with a bullet in his chest, and everyone, Democrats and Republicans, holding their breath. And even though I voted for Jimmy Carter in 1980, and I was thoroughly depressed by the Reagan win, I rooted for Ronnie Reagan that day. And later, I laughed at Reagan's quip in the ER, when right before surgery, he looked at the doctor and said, "I hope you're a Republican." This is Patty Davis, Reagan's daughter, talking about her memories and how different the events of 1981 compare to today.
Is America a violent nation?
My most lasting memory was the shift of mood in this country, and the people who came up to me, who I'm sure were not all supporters of my father, where politics was set aside and they were simply coming to me with compassion and with humanity and with the awareness that I had almost lost my father.
What was your gut reaction when you saw that yet another assassin tried to take out, in this case, a former president?
Well, I mean, I did think about his family, and no matter what one thinks of Donald Trump and all of them, I mean, again, it's a human being, and other human beings were shot who were attending that rally. Was some of the attendees, after Donald Trump was taken off the stage, turning around to the media and giving them the finger, and you could read their lips, and the words that were coming out went right along with that middle finger. I thought, really? Like, this is your response? Someone just died in the stands behind you. 2 other people are critically wounded. The candidate who you have come to listen to, who you obviously support, was just taken off with blood in the side of his head. And that's your reaction?
When Trump was shot, his first comments, other than "I need to find my shoes,"
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir.
whatever that was fight, fight, fight. But fight who? Good question. But did it rally Republicans to turn this into a political assassination attempt, blaming Biden and Democrats for the act of a mentally ill young man who also happened to be a Republican and a Trump supporter? Why did he do it? Who knows why? But that didn't stop everyone from J.D. Vance to Ben Carson to imply or otherwise state that the Democrats were either behind it or their language fueled the attack.
Let me tell you the weapons that they used. First, they tried to ruin his reputation, and he's more popular now than ever. And then last weekend, they tried to kill him.
Yeah, Democrats have compared Trump to Hitler because Trump's rhetoric, from white Christian nationalism,
if you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country.
It's reminiscent of the 1930s rise of the Third Reich. Trump even used the word Reich in his campaign literature.
The Trump campaign tells us this morning that this was a video that was shared by a staffer while the former president was in court, saying that staffer missed the reference. But as of this morning, that video has not been taken down.
Former President Donald Trump sparking backlash this morning after a video posted to his social media account seemingly suggests there will be a unified Reich if he wins the 2024 election.
And in the days since the shooting, Republicans are invoking God as a Republican protector.
Proverbs 28 reads, "The wicked flee, though no one pursues."
Even though Trump is about as religious as Rudy is balanced.
Rudy Giuliani just fell down.
It's funny how you rarely hear about Reagan anymore from Republicans, and especially from Trump's cabal of ignorant Bible thumpers.
I think he's been sent from above.
Reagan didn't want a theocracy, and Reagan didn't want to attack the media or his political opponents. And when Reagan was shot, his attitude was to be strong for the country, not to rally his junior high posse to attack the other party, but instead to bring us together. According to Times coverage of Reagan's assassination attempt, the very first thing he said to Nancy Reagan when she arrived at the hospital was, "Honey, I forgot to duck." Then to surgeons as they entered the operating room, "Please tell me you're Republicans." And before surgery, while surrounded by the medical staff, he said, "If I had this much attention in Hollywood, I'd have stayed there." To an attentive nurse, "Does Nancy know about us?" To his daughter, Maureen, "They ruined one of my best suits." And then finally, when told by an aide that the government was running normally, he said, "What makes you think I'd be happy about that?" Does anything I just said sound like Trump?
But I am not unpopular.
Of course not, because on Reagan's worst day, he was kind, non-combative, and smiling. Maybe that's why Republicans no longer talk about him, because all his faults aside, next to Trump, he seemed like a real American president.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We had all come to believe had, despite our political differences, cared about the entire country. But that's all changed.
I know a lot of Republicans want retribution. They want to do that. We're going to see what happens.
It's a terrible, terrible path that they're leading us to. And it's very possible that it's going to happen to them.
Revenge does take time, I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified.
Reagan wanted amnesty for the undocumented. He stood up to Russia, and he wasn't afraid to mock himself, even while his trickle-down economy crashed and burned. This Republican convention displayed what's wrong with America.
I didn't even know what the hell NATO was too much before, but it didn't take me long to figure it out, like about 2 minutes. A waitress came over, beautiful waitress, and I never like talking about physics. She's beautiful inside. I said, "Sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. Please, let's look at the Washington Monument. Let's go and look at some of the beautiful scenes." And you end up getting shot, mugged, raped. Laughing Kamala, Laffin apostrophe. Laughing Kamala.
It comes down to this. MAGA Republicans are no longer a political party. They're a cult of weak sheep, worshiping a man who is quite literally mentally ill.
He's a populist authoritarian narcissist.
He is a consummate narcissist.
Governor Chris Sununu called Trump crazy, but
adding, "I don't think he's so crazy he should be in a mental institution, but if he were in one, he ain't getting out."
And he goes and he starts to say these wacky things. That's what scares everybody about him.
Our country can't be a therapy session for a troubled man like this.
John Kelly sought guidance from a book in which 27 mental health professionals warned that Donald Trump was psychologically unfit.
This man is a pathological liar, a narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
Trump survived the assassination, and now he's using the confusion and anger to take aim at his political opponents, the media, and the very substance of who we are. And unlike that boy who shot at him, given another chance,
where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody,
I don't think Trump will miss.
Who's with me?
Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable. Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, right.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.